Joining us right now to talk some NFL draft, I'm fired up for this. Lance Zierlein, who does an amazing job covering the NFL and specifically the NFL draft for our friends at NFL Media, with us here on the show on Twitter at his name, Lance Zierlein. Lance, welcome to You Better You Bet. Nick Costos on Westwood One Sports. Happy NFL draft season. Happy NCAA tournament to you and yours, my friend. How's it going?
Good. As soon as I get off with you, I'm going to run out, go meet my buddy, my best friend. We're going to go watch games like we've done for the last, I don't know how many years, forever years. And we're going to go get something to eat, probably sit through two different spans of games. And then I'll come back here and write up two players for the day, two more players. And then
all right, we're going to try and get Lance's video situation worked out. All right, let's do this, guys. Mike, let's troubleshoot with Lance and his video here. Let's just make sure that the quality's good. And Mike, let me know when we're good to back to go with Lance here, and I'll bring Lance back onto the show. But listen, like Lance Zierlein is living the life, man. Think about that sentence for all the sports fans out there in the audience. Lance is going to watch the NCAA tournament with his friends. Like probably, I don't know, I'm going to paraphrase here. He didn't say this. Maybe have a beer or two, enjoy himself, eat some delicious food, and then write up some players for the NFL draft. Lance, I was just saying, like, you are living the life right now that a lot of people would love to live, right? Like watching the NCAA tournament, writing up players for the NFL draft. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a lot of fun. It's tough. It's pretty tough especially right before the combine. I've got to have 350 players done basically. So in a span of about 4 months, so 3 months. So it's a lot of work, and everything that I do is going to live on the internet forever. I'll have 6,000 scouting reports on the internet. So you want to make sure you get it as accurate as possible. So you can't take any shortcuts. So the time you have to put it, even for these players I'm doing now, who are not likely to be drafted, I'm trying to look for the guys who are the sneaky players who could get drafted or could become future players. And so even with those guys, I got to spend the amount of time that it takes to accurately depict who they are and who they could be in the NFL level.
Yeah, and Lance does an awesome job, again, for our friends at NFL Media, the NFL Network, NFL.com, etc. Let's start, Lance, with the presumptive number one overall pick in the NFL draft. Now, I don't think there's any question, like Fernando Mendoza is going to be the first pick. He'll be the next quarterback of the Raiders. Whether he starts week one is a conversation for another time. I'm curious, Lance, your evaluation of Fernando Mendoza and the type of quarterback that Clint Kubiak and the Raiders will be getting with the first overall pick.
I think they're getting a very mature quarterback, a guy with a lot of poise. You watched him at Cal. He got the brakes beaten off of him at Cal. The protection was terrible. He got hit a ton, and yet what I saw was a quarterback who never flinched in the face of adversity, and I mean pocket adversity. Hey, you're going to sack him some. There's no question about that. I think his pocket mobility is just kind of average in terms of sliding around the pocket and getting to areas where he wants to throw. I don't think he's real fast getting out of the pocket and escaping, so that's a separate conversation. But when it comes to making a throw with people in his face, you saw I'm sure you saw, Nick, the big throw against Penn State, the winning throw that he had to Omar
Cooper. Yeah.
It was a great example of it. He had to make a great throw. That throw and that drive showed who Fernando Mendoza was to me. He drove down, made some big throws. He had a couple of unbelievable throws. But the last throw, two defenders in his face, hitting him in the chest as he got rid of the ball. And he delivered it without flinching. He took his time and threw when he needed to. He didn't rush it. And he put it to a place where only Omar Cooper could get it. And Omar made a great play on the ball. But that's an example of who he is. I see Joe Burrow level accuracy and placement when I watch him throw. I think I'm like Joe. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, that's really high praise. I was saying, wow,
it's high praise.
If you're a Raiders fan, you got to love to hear that, Lance.
It's high praise. When you let him throw, when he's comfortable in throwing, I don't know that I've seen very many quarterbacks that I've studied over the years I've done this who will hit a player in the hands accurately every single time more than Fernando Mendoza. When his placement gets off a little bit, interestingly enough, it's usually on RPOs where everything, it's just kind of the quick reaction throws off the fake where he's making a read and throwing it quickly. When you let him get set in the pocket and you're not pressuring him, he's going to deliver it on the receiver's hands about 90% of the time. It's an incredible placement and accuracy. And the same thing I saw with Joe Burrow when he came out. Now, the difference is Joe Burrow had the ability to escape pressure. I thought he was more mobile outside of the pocket. And I think Joe was on a different level in terms of his understanding of where he wanted to go with the football. But Fernando Mendoza is smart with the football. I think too much is being made about, a lot of his throws are back shoulder and RPO throws. I factor those out. Like when I filter out my tape on him, I'm looking at third and long throws, I'm looking at red zone throws, and I'm looking at intermediate throws, a lot of throws between 10 and 20 yards, because those are a lot of pro throws. And I also look at them throwing outside the numbers as well. And what I saw when I turned on to tape for the intermediate throws, when you play zone against him, fearless. He has no problem. He has great spatial awareness, like a point guard who understands how to get the ball from point A to point B without turning it over. He understands, and speaking of that, 29 touchdowns, no turnovers over the last 2 years in the red zone for him. He understands how to attack zones. He's accurate attacking man defense. I think the one area that you really have some concern about is you have to protect him at an above average level. You cannot be below average because his superpowers go away, because he's not going to be able to extend and create on his own. I think if you're average, you're going to get more average Fernando Mendoza. If you're above average at protecting him and letting him throw, like I talked about with you, Nick, when he's got the chance to throw without being pressured, he is going to slice and dice you up every single day of the week. So that's one of the reasons I think the Raiders, Las Vegas has done a great job of making offensive line a priority this offseason, because they have to.
Yeah, the Tyler Linderbaum signing, obviously. Hope to get Colton Miller healthy. Still have some work to do to fix what was probably the worst offensive line in the league last year, but off to a good start with Tyler Linderbaum, I think, at center, with the highest paid center in the history of the NFL. Lance Zierlein with us from NFL Media, does an awesome job covering the NFL draft and the NFL for them. Lance, we had one of your colleagues on the show last week, my buddy Matt Miller, who covers the NFL draft for ESPN. He said something I found interesting. He thinks Jeremiah Love, the Notre Dame running back, is the best player in the NFL draft. And even went as far to say that he thinks Jeremiah Love is up there as a running back prospect with Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, a better prospect than Jahmyr Gibbs was coming out of Alabama when the Lions took him. I think we're probably going to split hairs with the answer, whether or not you think he's as good or maybe not a little less than those guys. Do you see Jeremiah Love in that way, and do you believe he is going to be a top 5, top 10 pick in the NFL draft?
I don't see him in the same way that I had Saquon Barkley. I think for me, I have a higher grade on not just Saquon. I had a higher grade on Bijan Robinson and also on Blanken for the Raiders, who just came out last year.
Ashton Jeanty.
Yeah, Ashton Jeanty.
You like Jeanty more than Love? I think that's a pretty contrarian opinion, Lance, on that.
Yeah,
from the draft community.
It is. Yeah, it is, and I think Jeanty has a chance to still be special. I think he needs offensive line help just like everyone else does. Now, let me explain. I don't even think he's the most skilled runner on his team. I think Jadarian Price as a running back, and when I talk about running back, I'm talking about vision. I'm talking about getting through the contours of the lane, feeling run lane development, making reads and breaking off cuts at the proper time. When it comes to being a pure running back, Jadarian Price is the best. Is the most skilled running back in the draft. But when you're talking about the highest rated, you have to go Love, and here's why. Jeremiah Love is going to rush some runs from time to time because he's just such an urgent, explosive player. But that also comes with the ability to hit it in the holes faster than anyone. So he's got unbelievable burst. If you've got a little bit of a crease for him, he can take it from first level to third level, past the second level in a hurry. If you misfit your run fits, Jeremiah Love can make you pay like Jeremiah Love's going to make you pay like Jadarian Price can't, because he has breakaway speed. My comp for him was Jahmyr Gibbs, but they don't really run the same. The reason I made that comp, Nick, is because he can hit a home run out of the backfield, take it a long way on you if you misfit once again on your run fits. But the other thing is, and where he stands out above, I think he's on the Bijan level. He stands out to me more so than Ashton Jeanty at this, is he can slide out and literally play from the slot and run routes like a wide receiver. He is a terrific route runner. He has decent hands, but he's obviously electric when the ball in his hands. We obviously know that. But I don't see you can't guard him with a linebacker. And if you go smaller on him to like corner or safety, I think that's you're now taking away from the rest of your coverage. So you're going to be able to line him up out of the backfield. So you're not accounting for him with the defensive back. Now all of a sudden he slides into the slot, and you got a real problem because now you're having to match up with him without a corner or without a safety when you're going empty. He can protect the passer. So I think what makes him special to me and what pushes him above Jadarian Price is that his explosiveness to hit home runs from anywhere on the field, and then his ability on third down is really, really special out of the backfield.
I love that breakdown of Jeremiah Love and the other running backs in this draft, and especially his Notre Dame teammate. You bet on this Thursday, Westwood One Sports. Nick Costos joined by Lance Zierlein of NFL Media, talking NFL draft here on the show. We have about 5 minutes left. Want to hit a couple others with you here. Lance,
sure. Who
is the best defensive player in the draft? And who will be the first defensive player taken in the NFL draft?
I'm going to say the best defensive player in the draft right now for me is Mansour Delane. If you just want to get
the LSU corner. I love that. I haven't heard anyone say that. I love that.
A pure football answer. Mansour Delane is the best football player for me right now. Now, the highest graded is Arvell Reese, and that's based on projection. That's based on who I believe he's going to be. Because in the draft, I'm not here to tell you who they are now. My job is to try to tell you who they're going to be in 3 to 5 years. So my grades are going to reflect that. Delane, if he were 6 feet, 6'1", and with 32-inch arms, to me, he might be the second player in this draft. I mean, he'd be the number 2 player on my board for sure, and he was for a while. I think a case can be made for David Bailey from Texas Tech, the pass rusher. David Bailey is a much more skilled rusher than Arvell Reese. David Bailey is the second most skilled rusher. The most skilled rusher is Akeem Mesidor, is the most skilled rusher in terms of ability. The bag is really deep. He can hit you with all kinds of different approaches and attacks, but he's also 25 years old. David Bailey can attack the pocket with an explosiveness. It reminds me of Jalen Green. If you're a basketball fan, if you know basketball at all, Jalen Green used to be at the Rockets, now at the Suns. He's got the explosiveness of like a Jalen Green attacking the basket. That's kind of how David Bailey is. He's like a basketball player with the way he attacks the pocket. He comes at different angles than you're used to. He's not necessarily a great bender, but he's super fast and super explosive. He is possibly the best defensive player in the draft. Mansour Delane, to me, is just a smothering cornerback. I thought everything about his tape was fantastic. He just doesn't have elite measurables, but he is going to run really fast as pro day as well. And then, but the highest graded is Arvell Reese, because when it's all said and done, I think he's got a chance to be the most special of anybody in this group.
Outside of Fernando Mendoza, are any quarterbacks in this draft worthy of a first-round pick? Not will they go in the first round, or any other quarterbacks worthy. You're giving the thumbs down for people that are just listening to the show. So you don't like Ty Simpson, you don't like any of the others. Why not here in about 90 seconds to 2 minutes?
My grade on Ty was the same grade I had on Shedeur Sanders last year. I think he could fit into the second round and have a chance. The amount of one-year starters who have ever panned out as good NFL quarterbacks, it's a very low number. And it's not Ty Simpson's fault. It's just what happened. But I think Ty Simpson shows a lot of potential to become a pretty good quarterback if everything around him is really, really put together right, Nick. So he reminds me of Mac Jones in that way. So I think it's going to be – his success is going to be deeply, deeply tied to everything being right around him, from the coaching staff to the offensive line to the players around him, so that he can, gain the experience he needs as a one-year starter, because he's still got so much more football to learn. But I would not take him in the first round.
Give us right now your biggest NFL, and this can be like a hot take, doesn't have to be Ty Simpson's going first overall, but give us the thing that you're strongest on right now on the NFL draft. We're about 5-6 weeks out that you think will start coming to prominence and people will start talking about, especially as we get through this weekend in the NCAA tournament.
That's a really good question. Because in the draft world, we always talk about this kind of stuff. I'm looking at my board here. I think people are going to fall off on the offensive tackles a little bit. I think they are going to realize that Kenyon Sadiq I know it's hard to put a tight end anywhere. It's really hard to place them when you start doing mock drafts. But when you have a player like Kenyon Sadiq with this type of athletic profile, and you see what Trey McBride has been able to do, and Brock Bowers to a lesser extent, certainly last year, but the year before, in terms of high volume tight ends, I think more and more people as we get closer are going to realize Kenyon Sadiq is going to go higher than you think, because it's hard to find the Trey McBrides and the Brock Bowers. Those guys who are high volume tight ends, it's very difficult to find those type of guys. And now we're going to take a guy with the athletic profile of Vernon Davis coming out. Those guys are mismatched pieces. They have to go higher than you think.
Final question, Lance. I know you're a Houston guy. I don't know if you're Houston Cougars basketball. Do you pull for Houston in the NCAA? Okay.
I grew up watching. My dad was a football coach at University of Houston, so I grew up watching Phi Slamma Jamma as a kid. I'd go to games. So yeah, I'm still in with the Cougs.
I love it. We go from Ralph Sampson and Akeem Olajuwon now to like this excellent backcourt this year with Kingston Flemings and Sharp and Uzan and company. Houston will make it to what round of the NCAA tournament this year, Lance?
I think they get beat by Illinois. I think that is Elite Eight, I believe. I think the 3 seed beats the 2 seed. I think Illinois. No, that's going to be Sweet 16. I think Illinois beats Houston this year. It's just something missing from Houston this year. It's hard to explain. They just don't have quite the same front court in terms of being able to beat up on everybody. And for the offense they got with Kingston Flemings, who's very special, there's been a little bit of the same in the consistent tenacity defensively that we've seen in the past. So I like Houston a lot. I don't think it's the most talented offensive unit they have, but there's just a little something missing. They could go to the Elite Eight. I don't see them as a Final Four team. I think that game against Illinois is going to be one of the best games we see in the whole tournament.
Final question, hard 30 seconds for the answer. If the first round of the NBA playoffs is the 3 seed Los Angeles Lakers versus the 6 seed Houston Rockets, who are you taking to win the series and why? 30 seconds.
I take the Lakers. And right now, the Rockets are just kind of lost. Kevin Durant is not the fourth quarter sniper that they were hoping for. They don't have the same defensive tenacity that they had previously. And the team's just kind of lost from an identity standpoint. Steven Adams, losing him, they lost some toughness. Fred VanVleet, they lost way too much ball handling. They're just not the same team they were even 20 games into the season.
I'm sorry to get you out on a sour note there, but I've been thinking about that as well after the Lakers beat them again last night. So NFL media absolutely slams it with their, as you might imagine, their coverage of the NFL draft and all season long. Lance, Bucky Brooks, Charles Davis, obviously Daniel Jeremiah, our pal Greg Rosenthal of NFL Daily. Lance, you're an absolute stud. Love your work on the NFL draft. Would love to get you on again before the draft coming up in about 5-6 weeks. Enjoy the day with your buddy. Enjoy the games.
Give me a shot. Love to come back on, Nick.
Lance Zierlein doing an awesome job with us here on You Better You Bet. I'm sorry at the end there to be like, hey, what do you think of the Cougars? Yeah, they're going to lose. What about the Rockets? Yeah, I like the Lakers. Appreciate Lance's honesty. All right, before we take a break and we give you all our bets for today on the other side, Bill Zimmerman, our executive producer, here with what I'm sure will be a fun trivia question on opening day of the tournament. Bill, what do we got?
All right, Nick, let's dive into it. So we've got March Madness opening up. Now, in the top 8 seeds all time, every seed has won the national championship but one. What is the one seed 1 through 8 that has never won a national championship?
All right, we will attempt to, I think